So we're going to be making a Sazerac. You can either have it with cognac or you can have it with rye. But we're going to go for the rye variation today. And that's going to be using Thomas H. Handy Sazerac rye whiskey. And this is named after the gentleman who first popularised using rye in lieu of cognac. So it's a very simple drink. What we're going to be starting with is the rye whiskey, obviously. We're going to add a little bit of sugar syrup just to give it a little bit of sweetness and a bit of body. We're going to be using some Pichot bitters, which is a very popular New Orleans aromatic, kind of slightly pink bitters. And then a little lick of absinthe in there just to give it a sort of a scent of anise. And that's pretty much it. You finish with a little simple expression of some lemon oils on the top as well, is our preferred style of doing it. And we don't bother garnishing it, but you'll see all of that in a second. So we're going to start with a frozen glass here. And also we're going to take a frozen mixing glass. So ideally you want everything to be as cold as possible so that dilution happens at a slower rate. If you're using warm glassware, for example, everything's going to melt a lot more quickly, so controlling the temperature and the level and the speed of dilution is a lot harder. So taking the Sazerac, or the Thomas H. Handy Sazerac, we're going to do 50 mils. Nice, easy, quite a typical serve in terms of if you're having that as a whiskey by itself, or if you're having it in a cocktail. Then we've got Pichot bitters, which are recognised by that slightly reddy sort of colour. So different places do different measures of this. We go for 4 good solid dashes. It doesn't totally dominate the drink, but it then stands up to especially something like this, where it's slightly higher ABV, in fact a lot higher ABV than usual whiskey, so you can go a lot more heavy duty with the other flavours without them becoming imbalanced. And we're going to add just a single bar teaspoon, so this is equivalent to 2.5 mils if you're trying to make this at home. And that's pretty much it in terms of what's going to be mixed up. So we're going to take some ice, the best quality ice you can get. We've obviously got a very nice professional ice machine for this, but if you're doing it at home, make sure it's not been sat out for absolutely ages and very wet. You want nice dry ice ideally. The wetter it is, the warmer it is, the more quickly it's going to dilute and the less control you have again. So there's no great need to stir it very aggressively. You just want to fill the ice line just a little bit sitting above where the liquid is, because if you've got a load of ice sat out there, it's just going to be in contact with the air, and especially on a hot day like this, it's going to start melting, and without doing any chilling, really. But we'll leave that just sitting there for a minute. You don't have to be stirring it. It will naturally dilute in the same way. If you stuck anything with ice, it's going to do the same thing. I'm going to take some absinthe. So this is Jade Nouvelle absinthe. It's made by a great chap who managed to reverse engineer a load of vintage bottles and was also the gentleman who got absinthe re-legalised in the US and in Switzerland. It's a really fantastic product. And if you could smell that through the camera, you'd smell a load of anise, fennel, wormwood less so, is less clear on the nose, but it smells like sweets, like anise balls or anise balls. So just before we start pouring this into anything, we're just going to double check and make sure that it's up to standard and that it's cold enough. So that's pretty much there. So because this is not going to sit on any ice, we want it to be perfectly at that right dilution level and just that right chill level before we pour it into the glass. What we did there with the absinthe was we put it in there and just gave it a rinse. So we covered the interior and then tipped out the remainder, just so it doesn't imbalance the cocktail. So take a julep strainer or anything like that, pour it out of the glass, straight into the chilled glassware. And then what we're going to do, just to finish it off, is we're going to take some lemon peel, freshly peeled so that it doesn't lose all of the oils. And then we're just going to express it, which basically means just pinching the skin and releasing all of those citrus oils so it sits nicely on the top. Rub that around the rim of the glass. That helps just to really make those citrus notes pop, and it works very well with the other ingredients and other flavours that you've got going on there. So discard that. Don't put peel in the drink generally. It makes it harder to drink. It makes it quite bitter if you've got the pith in contact with it for too long. And there's something nice about the simplicity of this serve. So there you have it. That's a Thomas H. Handy rye-based Sazerac. It's absolutely delicious. In terms of what you'd be looking at in terms of the actual flavours here, so from the whiskey, you're getting spice, you're getting apple, you're getting a nice kind of level of acid, and then the qualities that come from aging in wood. But with this particular whiskey, because it's only 6 years old, you're not getting too many of those classic notes of lots of vanilla, lots of chocolate or coffee or cocoa or anything like that. So big, bright, fruity, quite brash because of the high alcohol content. So you're getting just, it's not so much a taste, but a sensation of a bit of a burn. It's going to have a very long, lingering finish as well because of the high ABV. You've got a little bit of the anise coming from the absinthe, or anise fennel, whatever you want to call it. And then the Pichot bitters giving it just a little bit of kind of slightly fruity, aromatic bitterness. It's quite subtle, it's undergirding it rather than being a really big, obvious part because the rye whiskey is so dominant.